Welcome to What's Happening. In this regular roundup, Real Media and Phoenix Media Cooperative team up to provide you unashamedly internationalist and subversive news, highlighting the work of people who are organising to forge a better world. We begin this week with a film report about the planned replacement and expansion of the Edmonton Incinerator in North London, where after campaigning for several years with no effect, protesters blockaded the site on Monday morning, closing it down for the day. The North London Waste Authority, representing 7 North London councils, around 2 million households, is about to sign a deal with Spanish corporation Acquittal, which campaigners claim is unnecessary, dangerous and racist. Real Media attended rallies at Islington Town Hall and Wood Green, as well as the action at the site on Monday.
Yeah, we're outside the Edmonton Incinerator site. We've been here since about 5:30 this morning. We've got a tripod here and we're locked on.
We're here to try and stop the rebuild of the Edmonton Incinerator. I guess largely for the people of Edmonton.
Edmonton is one of the most deprived constituencies in the country. It's no accident that they plonked an incinerator there. That's not an accident, it's by design.
It's almost a year to the day that a court ruled that Ella Keisha Deborah was killed by air pollution. 70
medical doctors wrote to the government and said if they continue with their plans, the incinerator is going to kill people.
It's racially unjust to continue to build incinerators and other dirty pieces of infrastructure in poorer areas, in areas where there are a higher portion of people of colour and other ethnic minorities.
Over 30% of the population is black. Over 60% of the population is black, brown or another racial or ethnic group. How many of our children suffer from asthma? And on top of the illness that they have, they've got to breathe in the particulate matter that comes from an incinerator and can travel many kilometres.
There's a website called Plume Plotter, and every day it shows how the wind is coming from Edmonton and where it is blowing the plume. It isn't just actually poor people and BAME people, but they are predominantly in the area and they are getting most of the plume.
The North London Waste Authority have not even done a health impact assessment on Edmonton.
I actually had a private briefing with Martin Capstick, the chair of the North London Waste Authority, and I asked him if he was aware that the 4 wards that are closest to the incinerator had the highest infant mortality rates in London, if not the country. He got back to me and said, no, he wasn't aware of this. They are not interested people and lives.
They're failing the people of Edmonton and they're lying to the 7 boroughs. How can it be clean air to burn the black and orange bin waste of 7 all boroughs in an area that's already overpolluted?
We have spoken at council meetings, we have protested in the street, we have handed out 20,000 leaflets, we've marched to the incinerator, we've taken the government to court, and yet they've taken no notice of us. There's a failure of the democratic process and there's a failure of vision.
I have a motion in to Islington Council asking them to pause and review the decision to build an incinerator at Edmonton. My motion has been amended by Islington Labour with a sea of red crossing out.
This new incinerator is going to be pushing out around 700,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide every year for 20, 30, 40 years.
The carbon emissions capture that the NLWA were waffling on about in Environment and Regen Committee last week will not come on stream until 2040 or 2050. And everyone knows 2040 or 2050 is just too late.
We can't keep building up more incinerators. We need to find a better way of disposing of our waste that doesn't create extra CO2.
There is absolutely no way that this dinosaur project with massive overcapacity for burning stuff should be going ahead in a climate emergency.
Okay, well, it's not the place to have a debate about it. The massive oversizing of the plant is something that is beyond our control. So it's a specific issue of the plant.
NLWA, what you gonna do? Watch out, we got more bamboo.
Sometimes we talk about
you know, the big national campaigns when it comes to climate justice. We're ignoring the local issues.
Does it even sound fair that they would put an incinerator in an area like this? It isn't fair, it's environmental racism. And that's why Black Lives Matter has joined the campaign.
All different groups joining forces and coming together is a very, very powerful thing. And we weren't doing that before, we're doing it now. And so they're starting to listen. For so long we've waited for politicians to make decisions in Parliament, but it hasn't worked for us. If we win this campaign, and I absolutely believe that we can, it will empower so many people. Winning would be everything for my community over there.
Then NLWA meets tomorrow to sign the contract, and a protest is called in Camden to show the widespread resistance to the scheme. On the 6th of December, activists marched in a huge rally for right to self-determination in the Dogiai Regency of West Papua. Indigenous West Papuans have been calling to secede from the current Indonesian regime since the territory was signed over to Indonesia from the Dutch government in 1969. A group of international lawyers back in West Papuans have stated that under international law, West Papua is a case of incomplete decolonization and a case of occupation and a place of multiple ongoing human rights violations. In a decision which was hailed as a landmark victory for Indigenous rights, an Indigenous court backed the decision of the head of the Sorong Regency, Johnny Kamaru, to revoke the plantation permits of two major palm oil companies which were planning to carry out projects in the ancestral lands of the local Moi people. The Indonesian government is facing criticism from Amnesty International for intimidation of human rights lawyer Veronica Kuman after her elderly parents were hit with arson and other frightening attacks over the past few weeks. There have been two landmark acquittals recently. On Friday, 6 people were found not guilty by a jury at the Inner London Crown Court. As Real Media reported back in April 2019, several climbed on top of a DLR train at Canary Wharf and one glued to the side of the train, halting a transport system at the capitalist hub of London during the morning rush hour. Last week, they persuaded the jury that their actions were a lawful and proportionate response to the climate emergency and ecological breakdown.
I'm far more afraid of climate change and societal collapse than I am of going to jail or arrest. Really is that simple.
We also recently reported the acquittal by a Staffordshire Magistrates Court of 3 Palestine Action activists who had blockaded a subsidiary of the Israeli arms manufacturer Elbit Systems back in January 2021. Here's Millie, one of the 3, who tells us about the case and what it means for the movement.
I'm a member of Palestine Action, and on 18th of January, me and 2 others took action against one of Elbit's subsidiaries in Shenstone called UAV Engines. This was with the aim to shut the factory down, as well as throw paint to represent the bloodshed by this company. We were the first case to actually proceed to trial, and obviously we won. We were found not guilty. I mean, the significance of this is huge. It shows, for one, that the judiciary in Britain and the judge who was in front of us accept that what this company is up to is horrific to the extent that it's proportionate and reasonable to take action against them. You know, the judge very clearly listened to what we had to say. He wanted to hear about Palestine, about what Elbit Systems were doing to Palestinians. And, you know, this is a huge win. It shows that Elbit Systems, they are the ones who are the criminals. One thing that became apparent after the first day of the trial is that actually Elbit's privately hired representative who was attending the trial, and, you know, she is a member of the public, therefore she should be in the public gallery, but she was actually granted courtside access, and she was sat in the courtroom with us, making notes, essentially I would say spying on us, spying on the activists. Who knows what this information is being used for, but I think it shows a real corruption in our system, that there's some collusion going on between the government and Elbit Systems, where for some reason their representatives are granted preferential access. Obviously, the government doesn't like this, and certainly Priti Patel's now trying to bring in, she's made an amendment to this new police crime and sentencing bill that says anyone who attaches themselves to something or someone, you know, obviously referring to lock-on boxes, could get up to 51 weeks in prison for that. It's a terrifying slide into what to me seems like authoritarianism, where any kind of protest is, severely penalised and criminalised. Well, obviously, our case was up in front of a judge, but there are other court cases coming up in front of jurors. And, I feel confident that those people can win their cases too. I think the issues are so clear-cut, there's so much moral clarity when you really look at it, is that Elbit Systems are producing some of the most horrific weaponry. They're making armed drones that are in the skies over Gaza 24 hours a day. They are manufacturing bullets that explode and shatter inside the human body, causing so many people to be either killed or suffer permanent disability. And I think people understand what they are doing and what is wrong. And I think a jury, how could you not listen to that and find Elbit guilty of the most heinous war crimes?
Finally today, news from Rome, where activists from the last generation citizens' assemblies now blocked one of Rome's major ring roads during rush hour to challenge the Italian government's lack of actions in the face of the climate emergency. This was the 5th time in just 8 days the group blocked key roads around Rome, defying injunctions and risking prison and high fines ranging from €1,000 to €4,000. The activists have since suffered serious police repression but vowed to continue highlighting the seriousness of the situation and the need for greater democratic participation in making the choices necessary to ensure a safe and just transition for climate and ecology. That's all for this week's What's Happening. Remember, Real Media and Phoenix Media Cooperative have joined forces to bring you a weekly newsletter as well as this video to keep you up to date with inspiring actions from around the world. You can subscribe here using the link on the screen below to check it out. Also, we'd love for you to tell us any stories or issues that we missed and you'd like to see us cover in the coming newsletters and shows. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, share and subscribe, and join us again next week for more independent news.